Have you ever felt like there's a vivid fire burning inside of you, yearning to break free and illuminate your life? That, my friend, is your vibrant life waiting to bloom. Welcome to the Vibrant Life Podcast. We are here to empower women just like you to liberate that vibrant life, to live authentically, and to harness the power within.
Our journey will take us through the enlightening realms of energy healing, goal setting, spiritual awakening, and so much more. We're stepping into the light of self-acceptance, of owning our power and potential.
If you have been yearning to dive headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship, or awaken your spirituality, or simply make peace with yourself, your search ends here at the Vibrant Life Podcast. As we embark on this enlightening journey together, we promise to hold your hand through every step of your journey to a more vibrant life.
Your adventure to true empowerment and authentic living begins here. Tap into the vibrant life you've always dreamed of. Subscribe now and join us at the Vibrant Life Podcast. Embrace your vibrant self. Until then, shine on.
Shine on.
All right, it's on.
Oh, gosh, it's been so long since we did this.
It's been a really long time. So the last time we recorded was in October. It's now January.
Yes.
So it's been a hot second.
Woo.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Vibrant Life Society Podcast.
Yes. Welcome back.
Vibrant
We are
Life
so
Podcast.
excited.
The society part's not in it. Vibrant Life Podcast.
This is the Vibrant Life Podcast, first episode of 2025.
Of 2025. This is our second season, you guys.
Second season. We made it.
We made it. Yeah, we did 30 and then we decided to take a break. And so here we are. We needed the break.
We did.
We came up with some really great things. We got our app rolling. We kind of were able to spend some more time on that.
Yes.
Which was great. We came up with some really awesome courses for planning out your 2025. And here we are. Not to say you're too late. You can still hop on that train.
Yes. So we have resources and we did a workshop and you can get the recording for that. There's also like journals that you can go through. We've got the bingo cards. We got everything to plan out your 2025.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about how to have that glow up stick. A lot of times we have a lot of motivation and all the energy when we're doing that planning.
Yeah.
And then like you and I were talking about, you get to it and sometimes that energy slumps. Like that's just going to be a given. And so how do you create that glow up from the inside out?
Yeah, I love that.
And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we made a lot of plans for 2025. And then I think we had a long break. I went back to work and then I was just like, ooh, I don't feel like doing any of that.
Yes.
So that is where I've been this whole week. This was my first week back to work and it just has felt a little harder than normal getting back into routine.
Yes. Same. I had I had some health issues raise their head again, and I haven't struggled with them for a long time. And so that wiped me out for about 3 weeks. And I'm just starting to claw my way back out of that.
Do you want to share about that at all?
Yeah, I can. So I have PMDD, which is, premenstrual dysmorphic disorder or something like that.
Yeah, I think you got it, girl. That's it.
And so what that does is your hormones get out of whack. So about 2 weeks before your period, 10 days before your period, for me, the world just goes really, really dark. Like I lose all motivation. It seriously is just like, whoom, like you're powering down. I used to say like my house could be burning down around me and I would just be like, huh. Like,
I don't care.
And then for someone who's got really big goals, it was super frustrating because that would happen for 2 weeks. And like your brain is still going. You're like, I want to get this stuff done. But like I am super fatigued. Like so I could sleep for 12 hours and then insomnia hits and then I sleep for an hour and a half a night and then I'm tired. And so it's just a lot to, and luckily I don't have, a lot of women that suffer from it have like suicidal thoughts, and a lot of people will go and like check themselves into a clinic and to deal with it. And luckily mine isn't to that extent. I haven't had to deal with that, so I am very thankful for that. But it's still a very deep dip. And so through my energy work, through healing and eating. There's a lot of research that it's tied to past trauma, and I actually didn't have it until mine came on tied with childbirth, and I had a very traumatic birth experience, as well as my husband having an affair at the time. And so like I was just getting over my dad's death, not getting over it, but like coming out of that first year, 2 year, like it was a year and a half after that. And so there was a lot of trauma around that period. And then, getting like back on birth control. I don't know if that's tied to it. I'm not a doctor. But that's kind of what, so anyway, until about a year ago, I was having those dips every single month. So it was like 2 weeks on or 2 week dip, and then you're 2 weeks on, but you're trying to catch up from that dip and try to do normal life. So it was just this frantic thing. And then it kind of eased off. And so 2024, I haven't really had any episodes. So it caught me completely off guard.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah. So it's nice to see how far I've come.
Yes.
And then to remind myself, like, yeah, this is how bad it used to be all the time. And this was actually a pretty like light episode, I would say.
Yeah.
But I think just between the holidays, getting out of schedule, my period was out of sync. So it did just like catch me off guard, and it knocked me out for a good week. I was texting Andre. I was like, well, I didn't get out of bed today. So bummer. But my daughter was at her dad's. So luckily that helped.
That gives you a lot of space to be able to actually really focus on what your body needed. And that's what you were doing during that time, is you were making sure that you were taking care of yourself.
Yes, because I did push through like kind of the first part of it. And I knew that. And then as soon as I dropped her off, I got home and I was like, whoop, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is, there are ways to kind of help it. So eating carbs, upping your carbs actually helps. I don't know why, but I'm not fighting that.
Time for a snack. Sounds good to me. Let's go.
Movement helps. I mean, like a lot of
depression,
like going outside helps, movement helps. But when you're in that, it's hard to get yourself to do that.
It is hard to get yourself to do that. And it's also okay to look at the whole year and be like, look at all the things I did. Yes. I deserve this rest and this break, and this is what my body needs, and I'm just going to shut down, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Giving yourself a reset.
Yes. And so that's what I did. And it's crazy because then when your hormones rebalance out, it's literally like you turn back on. So this time I was standing in front of my fridge, and I just felt this like rush of like, oh, she's back.
Hello.
It's the weirdest thing in the world.
It is the weirdest thing. When you were talking about that, I was able to connect to that with my postpartum depression I had after my third child. I think he was about 8 months old, and it was exactly like that. Yeah. All of a sudden one day I was just like, hello, where have I been?
Right.
I don't recall doing all the things I've done in the last like 8 months. I have memories of it, and like I can remember being here, but I wasn't fully present like that entire time.
Right.
And I think that's what depression is when you lose your ability to connect to what you're doing here.
Yes.
Like, what is your purpose? What's the point of being alive?
Yeah.
Depression is losing sight of that and kind of getting lost in your ego, honestly.
Yeah. So that actually is a good segue into this, because the method that we're talking about today, our glow method, I actually developed in the thick of everything, because I didn't know what was going on with me. I knew I wasn't connected, and I knew I didn't like it. And so that's when I started these practices. And then, obviously I didn't know it was this method at the time. And it's evolved over the last 7 years, and kind of coalesced into this thing. But I mean, that's what it was born out of. So if you are also struggling, this is the episode for you. This is the quick steps. I love, love, love them, because when you are having those rough days, none of the things that we're talking about today require you to get out of bed.
They don't.
If you are at that level, you can still complete this. And that's a beautiful thing when you're going through that, of like everything else requires, just when everything feels like it requires a monumental amount of effort, these steps don't.
Correct.
And I love that.
It's amazing.
And it starts to build up this inner fire, I guess. And and help you get out of that.
Yeah, which is huge and important.
It is huge and important.
And I will start it tomorrow. Or maybe later this afternoon.
You probably do a lot of it without even realizing it.
I know that I do,
Yes.
but coming out of this frustrating week, I'm like, oh, I'm missing.
I need to be intentional.
I need to be intentional about these steps. And while I was still doing them automatically, I think I missed a few things.
Okay.
I missed a few of the steps. So I included some things, but not everything. And so I think moving forward this next week, this is a excellent reminder to just be intentional.
Yes. And everything we're talking about today is already in the Vibrant Life Society. There's a course on it where we go through it. And then there's also a journal. So if you're wanting to keep track of it and being intentional like Audrey, there is a PDF that you can download and mark them off every day. So you're making sure that you are doing all 5.
All 5.
Our 5 to Thrive, which we are rebranding as the Glow Up Method.
The Glow Up Method. Yes, because we're using the acronym GLOW.
Yes.
To help people remember the steps that you need to take.
Yes. So in October, I sat down to update the 5 to Thrive PDF, and it turned into the first draft of a book. Apparently, I had a lot to say on this.
She did, and it's really good, and I can't wait to release it.
And I titled it the Glow Up Blueprint because that's really what it was for me, of starting at this point where I didn't recognize myself, I didn't recognize my life, and wanting to be better and needing easy steps to get me there. Because when you don't have a lot of bandwidth, when you don't have a lot of energy, you need something simple. And a lot of times, especially out on like social media.
If you can hear the dog, yes, there's a dog here, and she's very whiny right now.
She's like, who are you talking to? The people in the cloud.
The people in the cloud.
So when you don't have a lot of bandwidth, when you don't have a lot of energy, hearing the people online being like, I'm going to manifest money, I'm going to manifest this. You're like, that sounds like a lot of work.
It does sound like a lot of work when you're feeling really low.
And so this was the entry point. Or if you're just starting to explore manifestation or wanting to get into that, start with this Glow Up Method. This is a very accessible entry point.
Yeah. Mindfulness, if you're wanting to be more mindful and be more present. And that is my 2025 that's my word for the year, is to be more present than I ever have been ever before.
Yes.
And Glow Up can help with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I was developing this was all about being intentional with my energy and with my time. I wasn't really going into spiritual practices at all at the time. And it led me to that, but it's not necessarily tied to that, or the intention wasn't.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good. Okay, so let's.
Well, yeah. No,
go
it's
into
great.
it.
You're like, you just jumped from I was having a thought to let's start. Let's do it.
You were having a thought?
No, you were having a thought. You were having a thought, and then all of a sudden you're like, squirrel, squirrel. Let's talk about it.
Yes. Okay, so the Glow Up Method.
I feel like I need to give you a G.
Give me a G. G is for gratitude. So very easy to do. Find something you're thankful for. Look around.
It is easy to do, but if you're feeling in a state of, oh my God, everything sucks around me, it can be really hard to pull those things out.
That is a very excellent
point. We start with just 3 little tiny things a day. You need to pick 3 things. And then did we decide, are you doing this first thing when you get up in the morning, or are you doing this at bedtime?
You can do
or
it
you can do it whenever, all throughout the day if you need to. Yeah. But just think of 3 little things. And so you might have to dig deep. It might have to be, oh, I like the way my hair looks today. Or, oh, the sun is shining. I have not seen it in 2 weeks. That is something great. Or
if you're struggling, go through your senses. What's something I can touch that I'm grateful for? What's something that I can smell that I'm grateful for? What's something that I can see? What's something that I can hear? So that was how I started. A lot of times it was, I hear my daughter laughing. I'm grateful that we can laugh. Like I hear or I see, my house around me. I'm glad I'm surrounded by items that I love, that I've curated. Yeah. Like I love that my blanket is soft and snuggly. Like it can be so freaking granular like that.
Yes.
But it's something that helps to ground, and it helps you to be present, and it brings you into this moment. So where this started is when I was going through my divorce and having a lot of intrusive thoughts. This would bring me into this moment when it was like everything is bad and everything is scary and everything is falling apart around me. These are the things that I can hear, touch, smell, see that I can be grateful for in this moment and bringing it in and saying that, like, and I would even, like, my daughter was an itty bitty baby, but I would, look at her and be like, I am grateful for your smile today. Like, so just saying that out loud so that you hear it and it connects with your brain. And I still do that today.
Yeah.
And now I've actually incorporated her into this practice. We do one thing in the morning and one thing at night or something like that. But you can do this as many times as you need to, depending on where you're at. So.
And then what we know, science has backed up that when you're in an attitude of gratitude, your vibration actually raises, and the higher your vibration is, the better you feel.
Yes.
So there is some backing to that on why gratitude practice is so important every day. And even if I'm thinking about when I started my spiritual journey, gratitude was one of the very first things I tapped into it. But I love here here are the steps. This is what you do. And I was like, oops, I randomly stumbled on gratitude. I randomly stumbled upon all of the things we're going to talk about today. But I love here. It's just like, here, this is how you do it.
This is how you do it. You start with gratitude. Start it with gratitude. Use your senses to find things if you're really struggling. And so the next one is...
Give me an L.
I love it. L
we need a reason to laugh today. I feel like we need to laugh.
L is for love yourself.
Love yourself.
So this is all about affirmations. So affirming that you are worthy, that you are loved, that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are, whatever it is.
All the things. All the good things that you really, truly are, that you maybe have grown up making a dialogue that's not so kind to yourself. So rewriting that narrative on these are the things that you are and what you are becoming.
Yes. So when I first started with affirmations, I think I heard about, I don't know where I first heard about it, but I was starting to dig into it. And actually Ali Casaza was one. And that was talking about it. And I was like, okay. I think I was like, I remember I was on a work trip to Florida with a lady, and she was like, oh, have you heard of this lady, Ali Casaza? She's talking about affirmations. Oh. And I was like, that sounds cringy and lame.
Yeah. It kind of is when you're in such a negative thought pattern.
Yes. And then I was like, oh, actually, I do kind of like these. And I didn't realize I had already been making affirmations. I didn't know they had a name. Because I was like super into, before I had my daughter, I was super into the like happy planners where you did like these beautiful spreads. I've started to get back into them because they make me happy. Yeah. But, all the stickers had, be amazing today or whatever. So that's an affirmation. Yeah. But anyway, I started to compile a list because, again, when your brain isn't working sometimes, it's nice to just go to a piece of paper. So I have my list that I created in the Vibrant Life Society. It's the affirmations for every area of your life. I have used these intentional since then. So I started with just like, I am lovable because I wasn't feeling lovable at the time. Or I am capable when I was walking into my job. Even something as simple as I can do this. Like, I can make it through this day. I can whatever, insert thing here. You're just giving yourself a little pep talk, and you're loving yourself, and then you can get deeper and you can start to use them more intentionally. And so I would use them like if I'm wanting to rewrite a narrative. So something like I am someone who keeps my house clean. Like as someone with ADHD, that's always a struggle for me. I'm like tiny messes, tornadoes everywhere. So when I was like developing my, my standards or my sets or trying to work on those habits, affirmations affirmed that. And so you can use those intentionally as you're on a wellness journey. If you're trying to get fit, like I am strong. I am an athlete. I am someone who eats healthy. I am whatever, or like I am deserving. So there's all kinds of affirmations.
And you're claiming that power by using the phrase I am.
Yes.
Yep. And even, I don't know if this is a good segue to, with talking about the affirmations, even after you've been doing this for so long, I just pulled up the new one, was that I am strong. I went to see Fonda, our energy healer, and I like to say our energy healer I'm now hooked because it's amazing to go through and to listen to these things that your body tells you. And I had a really bad ovarian cyst just before Christmas, like so bad that I was like, this is either torsion again, which I've had torsion before and actually lost an ovary, or I was like, I just had a really bad rupture and I am actually bleeding internally right now. It was really painful. And so I wasn't bleeding so badly that I needed to go to the hospital, thankfully. And I assumed things resolved on their own because it felt a lot better after 3 hours. But I went to Fonda and she goes, do you know what ovarian cysts represent, or a cyst represents? And she said, energetically, it means that you were telling yourself an old story. And she goes, because of the location, I have to question what kind of trauma it happened around your womb space. She goes, did you suffer any sexual trauma? And up until me starting to meet with Fonda this year, I would have said no to that answer. No, I've not suffered any sexual trauma. And I had something that happened to me when I was 15. I had a boy that convinced me that I was into things that I knew of that I wasn't. And I told him no, and I told him no, and I told him no, and I told him no. And then the next thing I know, I'm going out with him against my parents had told me I couldn't date anybody above a certain age, and he was 18 and I was 15. And I had told him no to going on a date so many times I cannot count. And eventually he talked me into it. He talked me into a lot of things. And so not even thinking of that as trauma. And I was like, I've revisited that. I forgave him. I've moved past that story. And she goes, there's something left there. And my body said, you think you're not strong. You think you could have prevented this. And that's not the case. Mm-hmm. So the story, the affirmation I needed to retrain my brain to say was that I am strong. And then there was something else traumatic that happened that I probably won't go into on this podcast. But he said something to me and shared it with the entire school that kind of followed me around for a really long time. And she said, because he thought that, it's not because that was actually true about you, but that he didn't have the potential to love you. And so that is the only reason he had those thoughts and feelings and shared them with everybody. So something about her reframing that for me gave me this extra level of healing.
I love that.
So anyways, that was a big tangent on Elle and love yourself, but that was a piece of me that I had still, even though I've worked through all these things, there's always room to grow and to get, I thought I'd healed it, but there's always deeper levels as you get older and you heal on different levels that you can dive into and heal even further.
Right. Yes. When you're first into it, this is like, we're setting a level, right? This method is just, we're setting our level set, our like minimum level of loving ourselves.
Yeah.
And you're going to build on that, and your minimum level will raise and raise and raise and raise.
Yes.
As you practice it. But yeah, we don't need to go from, like 0 to 100. The workout that I do, he uses the example of some ancient Greek Olympian who carried a cow up a mountain, but he didn't start when the cow was a cow. He started with it when it was a calf, and he carried it up the hill every single day. And so those incremental changes.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to start when you're starting. These are your baby steps.
Just surface level.
Start
baby
surface
step.
level.
Yeah.
What's your baby level affirmation?
Yep. I always envision it as an onion. We're peeling back all of the layers and getting deeper and deeper.
Yes.
I love the cow analogy, though.
No, I wish I'm so bad at like names and stuff like that. I need to change. I could change that with an affirmation.
Yes, that's it. That's a self-limiting belief you tell yourself, that you're bad with names.
Yeah.
I tell myself that too. I'm really good at faces. I can see a face 30 years later and know that I know the face, but when I not as good at. I'm getting better. I am good with names and faces and people and places.
Okay, so the key here, that brings up something that kind of half-assed. I'm good with that. You have to feel it. You have to get the feeling. So as you're saying the affirmation,
you just called me half-assed.
I did. I did.
It is good. It was a good example. I just whacked the table.
So you got to feel it. So as you're saying this affirmation, whatever you choose, let yourself feel the feeling. So if you're saying, I am lovable, feel the love.
You have to feel it for yourself.
If you're feeling strong, imagine what feeling strong feels like to you. And that leads us into our next one, which is O, which is outlook. So we are using...
Give me an O!
We are using an outlook visualization technique.
Yes.
So when I first started with this, it was picturing myself making it through the day. And the more you picture it, then it becomes like you can trick your brain into thinking that things have already happened. So if you picture yourself going into that meeting with confidence, if you picture yourself remaining calm when you're, meeting with someone who is high conflict, when you picture yourself going through the workout that you want to do or whatever, then when you actually go to do it, your brain is like, oh, we're comfortable with this. We've already done this.
Well, and that
it becomes familiar.
That brings me to, the science behind people who visualize themselves getting stronger as they're working out, that they actually, it's like an insane number. Like they have a 30% increased outcome than somebody who's not visualizing the good outcome.
Yes.
So actually telling your brain that this is happening, that this is good, I'm accepting this, can give you a better result.
Yeah. So I've actually been doing research for the book because I want to back it all up.
Yeah.
And so there was one study they did with hand strength, and they had a group of people that did the exercises, physically did the exercises, and they had a group of people that didn't do the exercises, just visualized themselves.
the exercises.
And they increased their flexibility or their hand strength by 13.5%.
Without
ever lifting a finger.
And that's insane.
Did you see what I did there with hand strength?
It's amazing though.
Right?
And then
just
you're
through
like,
brain power.
just through your brain power, which is all, this is what we're doing. Your brain is a computer and you were reprogramming it.
Yes.
To be how you want it to be.
Yes. So going along with, so I started out with this, like when I was first creating this, it was like, what is a little struggle? What's the next little hurdle that I need to go through? And so I would picture myself, walking into work and not crying because that's where I was.
That's where you were at.
Or I would picture myself, putting my house up for sale. And then I would picture myself walking into into whatever new home I wanted, and it feeling good. Again, it's about the feelings. You have to connect it to your heart and your feelings. So you can have the visual story, but what's really going to bring it in and connect it is the feelings that you put behind it. Because it might not end up looking exactly like what you want, but it will feel the same.
Yep.
So, for example, the house I moved into, I called it, so I have a horror of beige. And this house was beige. It was a beige. Everything was old man tan. The ceilings were why?
Old man tan.
It was color drenched, but in the worst way. Oh. The ceilings were tan. The walls were tan. Everything was brown and tan. And I would not have picked this house for myself. But that house gave me the feeling of freedom. Yeah. That house gave me the feeling of comfort. And because that's what I envisioned. It wasn't the actual physical space. It was the emotions that I was feeling behind it.
We're getting ready to list our house and to move. And so for this, I'm remembering about the first time I walked into my house. I saw the pictures online and I was like, that is not my house. That is a weird house. There's something weird about the front of it. I was like, And we got there and we'd looked at probably 50 houses and everything had been like, nope, nope, nope. And we walked into this house and I immediately was like, this is your house. And it was same thing. It had bright red on both sides. So it felt like it was caving in on you, and it was brown, like a poop brown throughout the kitchen and the living room. I left that paint color for probably 5 years because I didn't have the energy to paint it, but I knew that was my house. It was like putting on your wedding dress when you're like, oh, this is the feeling.
This is the one.
This is the one. I got that feeling with my house. So as I'm looking at new houses, I'm just waiting for the feeling. I'm like, we'll just stay put until I get that feeling when I walk into a house.
There you go.
Because that's when I will know.
Yes. So it might not look exactly like you envisioned, but the feelings will be the same.
Yes.
So we're putting the intention out there. So as you're visualizing, so, going back to I'm always really tangible and practical. So going into I'm going to go into this meeting, that I'm nervous about. You picture yourself going in with confidence. You picture yourself responding with calm or whatever you're worried about. And the conversation might not go exactly like you scripted it, but you can still then embody those emotions because you've practiced them.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's outlook.
I love it.
Okay, so our last one is W, which is well-being.
Give me a W!
Give me a W! So this is the well-being. You need to snip those and do a social that's just the give me.
Oh my God, I'm totally going to. And that last one's going to be extra crazy because my eyes are like,
okay, so W is well-being. And this one actually has two actions because we have our internal well-being and our external well-being.
Yeah.
And so internal is reaching in. You're reaching in and doing something that's just for you. A lot of times, this can be just drinking that freaking glass of water, because I can almost guarantee that you're dehydrated.
I am.
But it could also be, I am going to allow myself to take a day and not feel guilty. It could be, what do I need today? What do I need today? What can I do to nourish me? Because I think as women, and especially if you're a mom, like that doesn't always happen.
It doesn't always happen. And I've gotten into a really good place where I meditate every single morning, because that's the thing I need for me.
Yeah.
But I've let go of the checking in and seeing what I actually need. So yes, I meditate out of habit, and it's just like ingrained in my daily practice, but I'm missing that reach in piece to actually check in with myself.
Well, and as you do this, you do build those habits. So that's a great point of like, now you're meeting this minimum level of care for yourself every day. So what's that next level? How do we take it to that next step? What's that next baby step of reaching in?
That's what I'm missing, and that's what I'm going to work on this next week.
So, yes.
Yes, I'll keep
we
you
will
posted.
check in with.
It won't be on the next podcast, because we'll probably record that next.
Yeah.
You'll get an update later.
Yes. And so then the next one is reaching out.
Yeah.
We are more isolated than we've ever been.
Yes.
Even with social media, we're so isolated. And so taking a moment to reach out to someone in your community.
To really connect with somebody, not just like surface level, hey, how you doing? Like a real actual connection with somebody.
Yes. So reaching out, and that could be a friend who's going through a hard time, which gives you so many benefits. So you're strengthening your community, your village. You are taking the focus off of yourself, especially if you're having a hard time. It can be easy to get in this kind of tunnel vision. And so taking the lens, widening the lens and going out. But you're creating community, which we all need. I mean, that's really the foundation of what Vibrant Life was founded on, is we need community. We need resources and we need community. And so that's what we're here to provide.
That's what we're doing. Yeah,
real simple. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, reaching out. Like, can you send a friend a nice message? Can you reach out to someone you've been meaning to? I mean, it could be someone you haven't talked to in a while. And it could be as simple as a text message, or you could give a call, or you could say, let's actually schedule that coffee date that we've been saying that we're going to do. And the meeting in person. That gives you a twofer, because you got the reach out the day that you schedule it, and then you got the reach out the day that you actually meet up.
You actually do it. I do have a friend that I've talked to twice now on her birthday in the last 2 years. They were like, let's get together, and we still haven't gotten together. So sometimes it doesn't work out. Life gets busy, but taking that time, that intention, now I'm like, okay, we should really probably.
But did you follow up? Because there is the difference between like the people you run into at the like grocery store, and you're like, oh yeah, let's set up. But being intentional with the relationships that you want to nurture. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like someone different every day. It can be a small set of people, and you can have your small community. Yes. But if you're being intentional about it, it becomes a very impactful community.
Yep.
So because. Love it. Going back to the period where I was developing this, my circle got very, very small, because when the person closest to you betrays you, you don't trust anybody. Yeah. And so I had a very small group that I trusted, and that was who I poured into, because I had only so much capacity to give, but I wanted to let those people know how much it meant to me that they were there.
Yeah.
So...
And that kind of takes me back to, I've had one good core friend for the last, a long time. But then this year, I was like, I want to widen my group of people. And so I've let a couple more people in, but Cassie, we've talked about this when we did our vision boarding session, that for us to be so vulnerable to get to this stage, we really had to open up and pour into each other. And that, I cannot get over that. We've almost been really good friends for a whole year now.
I know.
It seems
crazy.
It does seem impossible. But it started with just a conversation at a get together where we just kind of started talking. The first couple times we got together, we went out to eat. I remember sitting out at that Mexican, we were out at the, and Johnston patio. We were outside. It was cold. We were talking. I was like, okay, like we can banter back and forth.
Yeah.
But it was still uncomfortable. And then the next meeting too, I remember it was just like,
at
all
Eggs and
right.
Jam, we were like, maybe,
yeah,
we're feeling it out. Like,
yeah. But then to take that from there to where we're at now is just insane and so good. And you've brought so much joy to my life.
I love that. Same back at you.
It's so good. So
But a lot of that was through being intentional.
We were so intentional about it.
Sharing each other, reaching out,
yep,
holding to plans, like all the things.
Yeah, I had been very, very closed off, as motherhood can do, because you're so busy and you're so focused on your kids. And so that was a huge thing. It helps that our kids are a little bit older now. It's harder when your kids are babies. Yeah. But even if I had started this sooner when my kids were babies, like when my youngest was a baby, we were in the pandemic, so it wouldn't have happened then. But, you know, you can do it too. I know you can.
And again, it doesn't have to be small. If you don't have the capacity to go out and meet people, you're at least nourishing the relationships. Because when I look back at my life and the things that I regret most, it's the people that I let go of.
Yes.
And so it's like, those, and this actually it took me several years to get the courage up, but I actually reached out to like my college roommates who I didn't nourish those relationships and they fell away. Yep. And I reached out and I was like, hey, this is really vulnerable. We haven't talked in 5 years. Like, I miss you. I'm sorry I was a shitty friend, like owning up to it. Friend. Like, I'm sorry I let, who is now my ex-husband, like come between us, and I was totally isolated and I let that happen, and like that super sucked, and we were really good friends, and I had to own up to my piece of it. But then we met up in Kansas City. Like, I took my daughter to Kansas City. We had our own trip, but then they made the intention to come, and like we all had lunch together, and it was really great, and it brought me a lot of peace of like, we're not in contact all the time now, but I've at least resolved that guilt that I had.
The guilt with it. That brings up a very good point. I did the same thing, except for I created stories, I believe, on my own.
Yes.
On why, like, feeling like I didn't fit in with them. I brought roommates together, and we lived together for only a semester, and then I was like, I'm out of here. I can't do this. Like, they're close now, and I'm not in it, and I was probably spending a lot more time with my boyfriend than I was with them, and they probably felt neglected about that, and I'm sure the stories that were there were probably created by my own accord.
Yeah.
And I made it very dramatic, and I left in dramatic fashion. I was like, I'm out, and I moved home, and I was miserable.
Well, and that goes back to the stories that we tell ourselves in that affirmation, because I was like, oh my God, they hate me, like all this stuff. And they're like, no, girl, like we saw it, like we're so glad you reached out. They were so happy. And I was like, there was something very healing in that, but I wouldn't have had the courage if I hadn't started 3 years earlier intentionally being this friend, going from a place of being very isolated. Really, when I left my marriage, I had my people at work, like my work friends, who were close. I did have a few like core group of friends there, and I definitely stayed in that job because I was isolated everywhere else.
Sure.
And so it was like, I needed these people.
Yeah.
I needed this job. And I still appreciate those people. But coming from a very closed off relationship where I didn't have a core group of friends, and I was very isolated. Let's leave it like that. So I was very isolated. So then practicing how to be a friend again.
Yes.
Practicing how to trust people when I didn't have trust in really anything at the time. Like, my worldview was crushed with the passing of my dad. My, marriage was crushed with his affair, and I had this new baby, and I was, so it took a lot of practice and intention. And I'm so glad I put in the work.
Yeah. Yes. It's worth it on the other side. But it continues on. Like, we're still working through all of these things in that each layer, like we're digging deeper and creating more healing and more joy with that.
Well, and eventually you have these skills, and like you get to see the blessings of other people's lives. So, and we had a book weekend a couple weeks ago, and my friend Sarah is so good at bringing people together. And I used to be that person in high school. I was the one that like brought everyone together and all this stuff. But when we were sitting around with this group of friends that we've all just kind of collected over the last year, that we've kind of gotten close, it started because Sarah and I met at a birthday party, and then I reached out to her She was one of my reach outs, and we started developing that. And now we're business partners. We do group retreats together. Like, she's one of my really good friends. And all the women in that group were saying, gosh, I've been missing close friends. I just needed someone to take the first step. I needed someone to organize it. I needed someone to reach out.
Ding, ding, ding. And now we're getting ready to do our second one. And this time my sister is coming because she said, she was like, oh my God, it's a dream to do that.
Right.
And then I'm bringing my other good friend, Ellen. Like, it's going to be so good.
And you need those people to be the reach out people.
Yeah.
And so you can be that person and create this larger community. And so now I look at my life and I'm like, I wanted to run away to like Europe for a long time. And I was like, no, like I have community here. I have people I can call on. Yeah. I have people that I cherish and relationships that I love. And so I don't want to move, even though this maybe isn't the place that I would choose to live.
It's cold outside. The air hurts my face.
Cold. It's cold and the politics are dumb.
Touche.
But anyway, okay, so that's your glow up method.
That's your glow up method. I love it. Do we need to recap? G for gratitude.
G for gratitude. L for love yourself. Affirmations.
O for outlook. Visualize.
Think about the stories you're telling yourself. Think about how you want the day to go. So that includes like intentions, visualizations, all of that goodness. And then W for well-being.
For well-being, reaching in and reaching out.
So if you tried this, let us know. Leave a comment. And then look out for the Glow Up Blueprint, which is coming soon.
It will be coming soon, but then also we're offering a 2-month free
that's right.
Join the Vibrant Life Society, so you can see all of our things in the app and be a part of our community that we are just getting started. So come on in and check it out and be one of our original OGs.
The OGs. We're all about the letters today.
Good point.
So yes, come and join us, but all the resources are in there too. So if you want the Glow Up Blueprint journal, that will be in there for you.
It will be in there. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
See you next time.
Next time we're going into,
Next time
we're going to go into some of the science behind it, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. Sounds good.
Maybe. We'll see what we're feeling.
We'll see what we feel like.
Okay, bye.
See you next time.
Exciting news! The Vibrant Life Society is now open, and we'd love for you to join our incredible community of empowered women. Sign up through the link in the show notes to start creating your most vibrant, joy-filled life today. And thank you for tuning in to our Vibrant Life podcast. We hope today's episode has energized and inspired you to live your best life. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. And please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you more valuable content. Stay connected with us on social media at Vibrant Life Society for daily tips, motivation, and community support. As we wrap up today's conversation, we encourage you to embrace each moment, pursue your passions, and prioritize your well-being. Together, let's create a life that radiates with energy and purpose. Until next time, live vibrantly. See you in our next episode.